Did we know that we had this in common?
No.
I worked at Albertsons for 4 years.
That's funny. I worked there like 1 year.
I was like the front end manager.
Yeah.
Dude.
Wow, management. I was overnight freight. And sometimes a cashier.
Yeah.
Rarely.
Exactly. When they call from like, we need help. There's too many people.
What was the code for more than 3 in line? IC3?
I don't know.
I think it was IC3.
All I just remember is help on the front end. And then everyone would have to come in and you'd have like the guy with the beard down to his nipple. Just one nipple.
The other one was
they would always try to keep in the back because they're like, we don't let Floyd up here unless we have to get Floyd up here.
Yep.
Like keep him in the back and doing the stock checks back there. He can run a cashier if you're desperate. So Thanksgiving comes around and you're always desperate and you call Floyd up there and you're like, oh. Anyways.
Is Floyd based off of a true character?
I vaguely remember a couple stalker dudes that it was so visually unsettling. Visually unsettling to see that stalker guy who's so kind of rough around the edges come and chicken peck on the register to make it, to help get the line down. And you're like, you don't belong here. You're a stalker guy.
Yeah.
But
did anyone get in their line or were they just like, I'll just wait?
They were desperate enough to get out of there. They would risk it, I think. But we should just do a podcast on grocery store talk.
We can.
It's easier than talking about church culture. I think when we started, Cody, I think we were bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and we were going to nail this thing.
We were adorable.
We were just so naive.
Yep. I prefer adorable. Naive is probably more accurate.
I think we were adorably naive.
There you go.
But we are still determined.
We are.
I think we're
stubborn.
We are quickly learning that this is more challenging than we thought it might be. We knew it was. Like if we go back and kind of watch and listen to what we talked about before we kicked off, we said we were scared about the challenge, but we still felt it was important to do. And we've only recorded 2 episodes and we're having this existential crisis. And again, I think there's probably 50 people who've listened, and half of them being our parents and our family and close friends. And so for us to even have this existential crisis is so ridiculous, because it's not like we're Joe Rogan trying to figure out what to do next. No. It's Cody and Jared. And we recorded 2 episodes, and we are already second guessing and analyzing and being self-critical and taking criticism, helpful criticism by people that care about what we're trying to do. And now we're just so in our heads about it. But what have you learned in the last couple of episode attempts? What conversations have you had with people, and what is making you want to push forward? What is making you want to hesitate? Talk to me, Cobra.
All right, Jared Bear. I have learned that even if you maybe have 50 strugglers, they're
struggling to listen. That's for sure.
Gosh.
I think that's a Freudian slip. 50 strugglers, which is accurate, because they're being so sweet to us to listen, but they're struggling. And hey, we appreciate you struggling with us.
Even if you have a show where there's only 50 people struggling to listen, you're still going to have people come up to you and want to join you, which is really cool, I guess.
Sure.
Like I feel special, so I've learned that. But I mean, seriously, I've learned how hard this is. I think in the beginning when we're like, yeah, we don't know what we're doing. I mean, we didn't know what we were doing, but in our mind, we're like, yeah, this is kind of the general idea we want to follow. And now that we're trying to follow this idea we came up with, no, I guess I've learned it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. And I've kind of learned that nothing comes easy. If you want to do something and you want to do something that's good, there's going to be some resistance there. There's going to be a little bit of a struggle. And so I don't know, but it's fun.
I think some of it is we recognize that we're really not that good at this.
Nope.
Not yet. Some of it we recognize that, like you mentioned, it feels like we are. The motivation behind this comes from a good place. We still feel motivated by it. We still feel, and again, this sounds so ridiculous. If you just knew who Cody and I were, we're just Cody and Jared, just a couple of dudes. To say that we feel compelled to do something like this comes across as a little ridiculous, I guess. But
do you know a better way of saying it though?
No, compelled.
That's it.
There's something that, and again, I think it's because you and I, just in our conversations with each other, have recognized that we can't be the only ones who have had certain experiences, and we're on the other side of those things. We absolutely love the gospel. To say that we, I don't know, can you say that you love church all the time?
No.
And so here's an example.
That's such a loaded question.
So here's an example
accurate.
of just me hesitating to say that I don't love church all the time. We are so concerned about what that sounds like to people. But really, the point is church is more than just the gospel. Church is the people who are not professional, especially in our church. Our church is run by imperfect people who are not professionals at what they do. We're mostly volunteer. We're mostly called to serve, and so that is why sometimes you have issues with church because of the people that are involved in the church. And most of the time, these people are doing the best they can. But to say that you love church all the time, if you have gotten there, that's fantastic.
Well, can we add real quick, if you're at that point, this show probably isn't for you.
I've had to have that conversation with some people who listened and said, man, I don't know. And I just said, you know what? I love you. You're the best. If you feel like you've already attained some kind of level of incredible gospel, spiritual maturity, and that you're just good, you're good to go, then I'm not sure if this podcast is going to really resonate with you, and no hard feelings if you don't need or want to listen.
Not that we're trying to disenfranchise anyone or not include anybody in the discussion. We want everybody to be included. But, you asked me a minute ago, Jared, what have I learned? And I think through the experience of recording episode 2 3 times.
Yeah. So people don't realize that episode 2 that we put out was kind of our maybe third effort. And still listening back to it, we still feel like it's okay, but we feel like it wasn't the best thing. How do I explain that, Cody?
It wasn't. We missed the mark, and we've had a lot of conversations the last couple weeks of we like what we're doing, but we realize that we're tossing darts at the board, man, and we're just missing the mark. We're hitting the board, we're not hitting the mark we want to hit. And so what I've really been able to learn and kind of take away from this mini experience we've had is I've learned exactly who I'm talking to when I speak on our show.
Yeah, so we got in our heads a little bit from some of the feedback we got, from some of us just being kind of listening back and being self-critical. And so the good thing that's come from that is I think we're trying to recenter on why we're doing this and who we're doing this for. And so we're going to play some audio after this little discussion that kind of reminded us of why we're doing this. In the meantime, Cody, can you maybe share what we've come up with and kind of a commitment to ourselves and to those who might be listening of the direction that we're really trying to go?
Sure. And as silly as this might sound before I share this, the biggest thing missing from our show was a mission statement. And I know that sounds goofy, but, talking from day one, we're like, we need a mission statement. We need a mission statement. And we didn't have that. And so tonight we finally wrote our mission statement. And I love the experience we had that led us to this point, because this is who I'm speaking to, who you're speaking to, and why we wanted to do this show. And so I'm going to read this right now. The other brothers want to reach out to the one. There are millions of ones in the world that feel cut off from the rest of the church because no one else can have the same struggle they have. We invite these people to join in the conversation and have an open, honest discussion of what our struggles are and how we can overcome them. We know that there are no bad people, only bad decisions. The other brothers want you to know that when you feel like you have no one, you have your other brothers. That's the end of our mission statement and the point of why we're doing all of this.
Well said. I wish I could take some credit and say that I participated in that mission statement, but you're a genius. You listened to me babbling. You asked me, why are we doing this? I went on, as I do oftentimes, in circles.
That was your contribution, and
that was my contribution.
Wonderful.
And you took everything that I blabbered about, and you were able to put it in kind of a straightforward thing. So, Cody, this season we talk about church culture. That's just what the season is about. But ultimately, we're seeking after the one, and I think we felt like, how can we relate to the one? And maybe the one has had some experience with church culture, and that's why we're talking about it. It's not to be edgy. It's not to
we don't want to pick on anyone.
We don't want to pick on anybody. We're not trying to validate anyone else's feelings necessarily. When we talk, we're literally trying to talk like we're speaking with somebody who has had struggles with church culture. That one that that you identified, and other seasons will be about other seasons topics. I don't know, but for now, that's what we're doing. We're just talking about one aspect that might help relate to that the one, and that's church culture. And we're discovering that it is difficult to talk about church culture honestly and not offend somebody. And I think I'm kind of over it. I think
we're going to offend somebody. And I've said this before, and I said it jokingly, you're not doing your calling right if you don't offend someone. And that's just a little Codyism you can take home and laugh about. But no, I'm good. If we happen to offend someone, we happen to offend someone. It is what it is.
We're not podcast experts. We are not necessarily experts at all things gospel inside and out. I think you are way closer than I am. I appreciate your knowledge, but we will be wrong sometimes. Will you admit that, Cody? Because I will.
Yeah, no.
Sometimes, maybe more often than just sometimes.
And if I won't admit it, I'm sure my wife will be happy to point it out for me.
Listen, we're going to be wrong. We're going to be off. We're going to learn. We may listen, years from now, Cody, and kind of cringe at what our opinions and the way that we went about things was. And I think you and I are just tired of worrying about it. And maybe we'll be a little more honest. Maybe we'll be a little more willing to speak our minds, but still in a respectful way. It's not it's not in our nature, really, yours or mine, I guess, to be edgy, to try to do something in some kind of backhanded, critical way, some kind of expose of the church. We're just really talking about things that other people might struggle with, and those struggles are usually associated with people. Like you said, the people are the culture. So
we're not going for shock value. And I think that's, I mean, that's so key. We're not, and if you've got an issue with the church, I mean, we're not here to jump on your team and let's go throw rocks at the church.
Yeah.
It's, this is just to help. I'm such an idiot. I'm so tired. We're going to cut that. So
no, we're not.
I'm giving you some work.
No, we're not cutting it because at the bottom line, Cody, is this is just to help.
It is.
If you, if you have
the most honest and innocent thing I've ever said in my life.
You were so sweet. If you think we're going to light torches and march to Salt Lake and demand this and that and changes here and there and sneak our way in general conference and stand up and be absolute jerks and
I don't have the
disrespectful.
grapes to do that. I'm sorry.
No.
Anybody's
it is
church.
interesting that you use grapes as all the fruits that you could select.
Sorry.
you use grapes.
Sorry, grapes is short for grapefruits.
Exactly.
Yes.
We're not throwing torches. At the same time, we're trying not to be gospel doctrine teachers, and we notice that we fall into that as well.
It's a weird balance.
It's a weird balance. Oh, well, we'll figure it out. It's only, again, we've probably recorded 5 episodes, only released a couple. Who knows what we'll do with this audio?
We're going to keep it. We're going to air it. We're going to have a good time.
But listen, honestly, thank you so much for giving us a chance. Thank you so much for giving us some grace as we figure things out, as we may miss the mark, as we may, maybe we cross the line and are a little too crass or a little too critical on something. And maybe we're super boring because we're basically teaching out of a missionary manual or a gospel doctrine manual. I don't care anymore. We're just going to do it. And Cody, if we can affect one person, if we can affect the one by just being honest, a couple of honest dudes, very, what's the word for like the most middle of the road? We're not incredibly genius, smart, incredible people. We're not hobos. What would be the middle? We're just like the ultimate, like regular dudes. And we just want to reach out to you. We want to talk about the things that we're talking about, have a good time. And that's it. We want to help.
Yeah, I'm still trying to think of a word. And I got nothing.
I don't know. Let's wrap it up here. We're very good at rambling on.
We are.
I wonder if we can ever get an episode that's not pushing an hour long of just rambling. But
how long have we been talking now?
Hours, at least. No. So next, like we said, you'll listen to some audio that, again, we've recorded a lot actually, and we're very selective of what makes the cut. And we did come across some audio that really, I guess, kind of reinforced our thoughts and feelings and our desires of what we're trying to do. So thanks for listening. What do we do now? Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. This is part of being along for the ride with us. You get to learn and grow, and you get to listen to us grow of what we want to accomplish. So have fun with it.
Let's see what happens next episode, Cody. We have some work to do on the next topic, which is polygamy.
Yes. Perfect. I'm ready.
I'm just kidding.
I knew. So just so you know, Jared's goal in life is to say the dumbest thing he can say just to get a reaction out of me.
You don't know the joy that brings my heart to see you laugh.
Oh, you don't know. I know that's his game because that's my game.
All right. Well, I'm going to go tickle fight Cody and enjoy the episode. We'll see you next time. something has compelled us to do this. And when we first were compelled, we felt very clearly what it should be about. And when we started putting content together, a funny thing happened, and we started to think about, well, what would the members think if they heard us talking about this and that? We wouldn't be representing ourselves or the church appropriately. And again, it's not that we've told you many times how we feel about the gospel. And before we started recording, Cody and I basically spent 2 hours weeping together about our experiences and how we know the gospel to be true. But the irony is we fell victim to the same culture that we're trying to talk about, which is we have to represent ourselves in a certain way. And the crazy thing is that it came so naturally once we started recording that episode, is we just really clicked into what we've been trained to do as members of the church, which is we could give a talk at any time.
Yep.
We could teach a class at any time. We could share the gospel about whatever subject you want to learn about at any time. And by the time we finished, I think I said, and I'm sure you did, was we're marketing this podcast to be a podcast about church culture, the good stuff about church culture, and most importantly, the stuff about church culture that you and I frankly get kind of ticked off about and kind of upset about, and that we want to change because we see it push people away. And the bottom line is, we know there are people out there that have been pushed away, and it's not pushed away by the gospel, it's pushed away by people. And it's like you said, Cody, it's the people that make the culture. We feel somewhat compelled, even if it's maybe there's just one dude out there or one girl out there that we're supposed to talk to. We feel compelled to do that, and because of our experiences that you and I have had in our personal lives, we can so relate to that person out there who may be struggling with, I don't want to use a cliche word, testimony. What is it? That they're struggling with knowing something's there, feeling that they are still having some kind of influence in their life that tells them, keep trying, keep doing this, keep holding on to this small thing, but cannot find themselves comfortable within the church. And it's not because of the doctrine, it's not because of the things that are taught. It's because of that bishop who was wrong. It's because of that young women's president who was wrong. It's because of that elders quorum president who was wrong in the way that they approached them, in the way that they saw them, in the way that they were supposed to succor them, that they did it in a way that was more reprimanding instead of loving, or like you mentioned, instead of representing the way that Christ would show unconditional love and no judgment as far as anything that would change the way he felt about you. Keep in mind, we have commandments, we have laws, those are important. But people have had poor experiences with the wrong people who meant the best, but just totally messed it up. And it's just amazing how just, one sit down with a person can totally change as you're teetering on, I know I need to get my stuff together, I know I have some things to work on. I've made some mistakes. I'm struggling with this. I'm looking for a direction, and I could either go this way or I could go that way. And those situations are so delicate, and oftentimes those situations turn out to be handled in the wrong way, and where you could be uplifted and felt loved and feel some hope, feel some positivity, feel like you can be who you are, come as you are, and have someone there to reach out and help you bear that burden. It can go the other way, to where you basically feel like trash by the time you're in that conversation. And I think, sorry, Cody, I think
no, you're good.
You and I have had those experiences, and we just feel like we need to connect with whoever's out there that has also had those experiences, or instead of feeling love and hope and peace and all those things that we pursue and all those things that we're promised, that we should be able to feel, especially in a place like church, that that hasn't been the situation for them. I guess that's what we're talking about when we say church culture. I think that is the bottom of what we're trying to get to. And part of that is people being real, people accepting each other for who they are. And we're not saying I'm going to accept everything you do and every choice that you've made and not say anything about it and just say, hey, just come and be with us and don't worry about those things. You don't have to work on it. We'll just accept you. That's not what we're saying. What are we saying, Cody?
We're saying we accept you as you are, and we love you, and we know what it's like we've had experiences in our life that we understand what people are going through. So we love you and we respect what you're trying to do in your life. When Jared says we don't accept everything, we're here for that first step. Whatever that first step is in your life, that's where we're hoping, everyone gets to. No matter who you are, what is that next step that is going to get you closer to the Lord, closer to happiness?